We have some facts available now about California's new right to die law, and I want to share this with you here. So Huffington Post explains, in California, 111 terminally ill people chose to exercise their right to end their own lives in the first 6 months after the state's right to die law went into effect, according to a report released this week by the California Department of Public Health. The End of Life Option Act, signed into law in 2015 and implemented last June, allows terminally ill patients who have been given a prognosis of 6 months or less to live can obtain a legal dose of medication, lethal dose of medication. According to data collected by the state, 191 people were prescribed aid in dying medication from June 9th to December 31st, 2016. Of those individuals, 111, 58%, died after taking the prescribed medication. Of the remaining individuals, 21 died without taking the drug. No outcomes were reported for the other 59 people. About 75% of the people who died after taking the medication were 60 to 89 years old. Nearly 90% of them were white and 72% had attended at least some college. So, under the law, 2 doctors must sign off on the patient's prognosis. And the patient must make a written request and 2 oral requests for the medication at least 15 days apart. And patients must also be deemed capable of making decisions about their own health. So it is a very highly regulated thing that's going on here. And again, it only applies to terminally ill patients. And this is the minority of states that have this. There are a few other states, I don't know if it's 4 or 5 or 6 other states, that have right to die laws in place, but most states still don't have it. So you could be terminally ill, in an incredible amount of pain, and you could say, look, I want to go peacefully, and they tell you to fuck off. Or legally they can't allow you to do that. So, interesting numbers on this, but I think the most important point here is it busts up some myths. So one of the myths was, well, if you legally allow it, what's going to happen is doctors are going to give it as an option to poor patients as an alternative to expensive treatment. And it just didn't happen. So now you can say, hey, it's a small sample size, 111 people. Fair enough. But at least to this point, it hasn't happened. And all we've done is actually increase freedom and liberty. Politicians love to use those terms, very rarely think about what it actually entails to believe in freedom and liberty. Well, this is freedom and liberty. This is, I'm going to decide my own fate, my own life, and what's going to happen. And in instances where you're terminally ill and in excruciating pain all the time, yeah, that should be an option. It should be out there, where you want to go peacefully. And by the way, you can be surrounded by your loved ones. And of course it'll be a sad thing, hey, we're saying goodbye, all that stuff. But you know what? When you're terminally ill, that's a preferable situation, at least in my opinion. And you don't have to nobody has to stumble across you, you know, when you pass away on a random morning and they're not expecting it. And it's an even bigger shock to the system. You could have your loved ones around you and all that stuff. So to me, it doesn't even seem like a very debatable issue. Like, are you in favor of freedom and liberty and people making their own decisions about the most private personal matters or not? And of course, who fought this? The Catholic groups in California fought this law. Compassion and love, and yeah, so you should be in excruciating pain because something life. We believe in life. So yeah, a bunch of myths were busted up here. And this is a model that the rest of the country should adopt because I think it's the right thing to do. And unfortunately, in most states, we don't have these kinds of laws.